Here with UFC welterweight Kamaru Usman, who takes on Tyron Woodley at UFC 235 on March 2nd. And Kamaru, the first question I want to ask you is, you get a UFC title shot, you put a lot of yourself into it, right? You've dedicated time, you've sacrificed. I feel like there is some portion of the fans out there who are saying, wait, we wanted another fight. We wanted Colby Covington versus Tyron Woodley. Has that been frustrating for you when you worked for something so hard?
No, absolutely not. I don't, I don't really care. It's not a matter of, what I want or what they want. Or if I got the way I wanted it, I would have been fighting for the title months ago. I would have been the champ by now. So it's kind of how the cookie crumbled. This is the situation that we're in, and you got to run with it. One of the biggest things that I always said in my career is that I wanted to be that guy who was ready, that when that door opened up, I was prepared. I'm not going to be the guy who, when the opportunity presents itself, I'm not ready. I've always been ready, and now the opportunity's here, and I'm ready to be the new welterweight champion of the world.
And do you think that when it comes down to it, that is why you're getting this opportunity? Of course, you have the win streak, but you've also shown a willingness to say, hey, when the opportunity comes, I want to take it. Do you think that is why that ultimately you're getting this fight?
Part of it. I mean, I believe the company wants to. This is a company that's going to keep rolling. The ball keeps rolling. It doesn't wait for anybody. We've seen different eras, different people come through. It's just the guys that are willing to put it all on the line, that are willing to go out there and perform, are the guys that will essentially be rewarded. And I feel that I've been putting it on. I've been competing. I've tried to stay as healthy as possible. Whether healthy or not, I still take the fights. I still go into the fights, and I still put on the performances. So, it's just now time for them to say, hey, you know what, this is a guy that's willing to fight and not willing to play all these games that the rest of the guys were willing to play, and here we are.
I've heard Tyron Woodley say multiple times that his toughest fights are behind him, that the Carlos Condits and the Robbie Lawlers are already behind him, and so this is actually the easy part of his career. What do you think when you hear him say that?
Well, he's in for a rude awakening then. A lot of people say a lot of shit, but it is what it is. Once we get in there and you get hit in the mouth, you realize, oh, shit, I fucked up with my prediction. So, hey, it is what it is. He can say whatever he wants to say, but he knows, he and I both know who the hardest fight for him is.
I know that this doesn't necessarily concern you directly, but one thing about Tyron Woodley is it always seems to come up is what's his relationship like with UFC? Is he butting heads with Dana White? And I guess just as the guy who's fighting him next, a welterweight, a fan of this sport, what have you thought about the relationship, the evolution of the relationship between Woodley and the UFC?
Not really much of it. I believe, and this is part of the reasons where I said I was thankful that Tyron eventually accepted the fight, is I think a lot of the problems started because Tyron was never given the opportunity that I'm given right now, and which is the opportunity from him, the torch to be passed over to him. We never got that. The long reigning defending champion, and the new guy comes in and takes the belt from him, and now he's known as the champion. Tyron never took that belt from George St. Pierre. So I think a lot of that backlash was the fans weren't really accepting of him as a champion because they knew GSP was still out there and hadn't been beaten. And so I think that's part of the reason that, that relationship and everything, even with the fans and the media, has kind of been a little shaky. But I'm thankful that he's given me the opportunity that on March 2nd, he will pass that torch whether he likes it or not. I will be the new welterweight champion of the world.
You got any advice for Tyron on how to improve his relationship with Dana White, though? Because you did it, right? I remember Dana White maybe wasn't your biggest fan recently. How did you mend that relationship?
Well, first of all, it's a package. First of all, you got to have the right management behind you. That's what the management do. That's what you pay them to do. They have to go out there and mend those relationships or fix some of the broken relationships, and that's why they get paid the big bucks that they get paid. So, let your management do the work for you, and you let your fighting do the talk for you.
Do you look at Tyron Woodley like some other previous welterweight contenders from years past looked at George St. Pierre? Like, in your mind, has Tyron Woodley accomplished that? Has he solidified himself as that guy, as that king, or is he not quite there yet in terms of matching what George St. Pierre did?
I could never speak on an era or what someone did because, that's not me, that I wasn't there. So I can never speak on that. Tyron is a champion. He's known as the champion right now. And so that my job is to go out there and dethrone him. So you can't measure up the magnitude that certain guys have. George St. Pierre was a different magnitude. Bringing the whole country of Canada behind him, that's a different magnitude. And it's one of those magnitudes that I'm trying to take on and even surpass by coming in and bringing the whole, not just a country, bringing a whole continent on my back of Africa.